All right, howdy.
Howdy.
All right, guys. Today we're going to be talking about copyright. So make sure that you are paying attention. This is going to be something that you guys are going to use pretty much in everyday life and will encounter every day. So stay tuned. Does anyone recognize what that is? Copyright symbol. Good. Got a whole bunch of them.
Isn't that symbol on Dollar General?
Okay, we'll talk about it. All right, so in your own brain, without talking to a neighbor, I want you to think about if you have ever had an idea that you came up with stolen or taken by someone else. Think in your own head for a minute, maybe when this happened, okay? Maybe think about what they stole. Maybe it was just a joke. Maybe it was like an actual idea for something. Okay, raise your hand if you have had your idea stolen by someone. Okay, almost everyone in this room is raising their hands. Okay, I want you to think about, how did that make you feel? Were you like, oh yeah, I'm so glad that you get to use my idea? Or were you like, okay, well that's not cool, that's not fair. Discuss with your neighbors. I'm going to give you 1 minute. Discuss what was taken and how it made you feel.
During the song project, my idea for Okay, what do you have, You know what? I hereby pronounce you demonic. I hereby pronounce you demonic.
All right, howdy. Okay, so I would like some volunteers. You don't have to tell me what idea was stolen, but I want to hear how it made you feel when you found out that person took your idea. Gabe.
So basically, I felt sad.
Okay, sad. Ella?
I was like, hey man, that wasn't very nice.
Not very nice. Rainer?
Disappointed.
Maybe disappointed. Jay?
It felt good because I felt like my idea was actually reasonable and people could actually use it.
Okay, so maybe on the flip side, you were thankful, like, hey, my idea is actually valuable because other people wanted to take it. Interesting. Bentley?
Angie.
You're angry. Jaden?
Mostly depressed.
Okay, maybe a little bit depressed. CJ?
Good.
Maybe good. So same thing as Jay, maybe that, you were happy that someone took your idea because it meant it was a good idea. Okay, now, today, copyright, when we talk about it, it's all about people's ideas, okay? But what actually is copyright? Like, I know y'all have heard of it before. You talked about it in the library maybe before. What do y'all think copyright is? Elijah?
Like, if someone takes your idea, you have to
Okay, so maybe someone's,
copies your idea, you have to I don't know how to say it,
like something happens to them?
press charges.
Okay, so you have the ability to take action if someone takes your ideas. Bentley, what else could it be? Guys, I need you making sure you're respectful to your classmates, please.
Copyright is when you steal somebody's idea, and if it's actually copyrighted, you can press charges, you can go to court, etc.
Okay, Eric, what do you think?
I think copywriting is where someone steals your idea and then they don't give credit that it was your idea and they say that it was their idea.
Okay, someone taking their ideas or your ideas for their own. Ella?
Isn't it also like using their words, not just their idea, but like their words too?
Okay, so it can be that too. So let's talk about the actual definition of copyright. Y'all all were very close, but you're looking at it from the opposite point of view. So a lot of y'all said that copyright was taking some ideas. In reality, copyright is the protection of ideas. So it's the exclusive legal rights. This is a legal thing. People can get in trouble. And you have the right to reproduce, publish, sell, or distribute any kind of work and form of something. This could be literary, like books. It could be musical or artistic work. Okay, so this is the protection of those ideas. So y'all were right on the nose, but y'all actually got it flipped because y'all said that copyright was the act of taking the idea, where copyright is actually the act of protecting the ideas. Does that make sense? Okay, and when something is copyrighted, it shows that it has that protection. So let's take a look at what copyright actually does and what it protects, because there's a lot of things that it covers. Okay, so copyright protects all kinds of creative content. Okay, this can include music, movies, pictures, so like photographs and drawings, any kind of published works, so like books, magazines, like scientific journals or articles, artwork, research, and even like dance choreography. Okay, so are all of these things someone's creative ideas? Yeah, they all were created by someone. Okay, and once they're created, that person owns the rights to that thing. Okay, whatever it is, they have the rights to say, hey, that's mine, I created it, so I have the rights to use it. Okay, now you can file for copyright. Once you have a copyright on an idea or on a creative work, it will last for the life of the creator. Okay, so for as long as the person is alive while they have a copyright on the item, it will last. And then it lasts another 70 years after the creator dies. Okay, so that's a long time, right? Now, the copyright can be renewed during the creator's lifetime, but most copyrights are like 70 to 170 years old. So that's a long time. Any questions on this part? I see some shocked faces. Are y'all shocked at how long they can last?
Yes.
Yeah, so someone can be dead and you still have to basically ask for permission to use their ideas. Yes.
Can I just like renew it on my deathbed? And to say, haha.
You could. It would have to be like a legal thing, but yeah, you could totally renew it like as you're dying. Okay, any other questions about what copyright does? All right, so where can you find a copyright? So once something is copyrighted, where do you find that it actually is copyrighted? Who knows? Ella?
Isn't it on the sign? Like the thing?
Okay, maybe it's on the physical thing. Eric?
So like if it's like in a book or like a passage or typing thing, it would probably be at like the very end of it.
Okay, maybe the very end of a book. What do you think, Jay?
Like paperwork.
Okay, maybe it's in the papers.
Depending on the product, but I'm gonna say for most games they'll usually have it in loading screens. Books they'll have it on the first few pages or the last few pages, and stuff you buy at the store usually somewhere at the bottom.
Okay, let's see. So, because we were talking about books with libraries, we're mostly gonna be focused on that. In a published work, so some kind of book, it's gonna typically be on the publication page, and if it has a jacket on it, so like this book has a cover on it, right, with the picture, it would be somewhere on the jacket. So sometimes the jacket cover has them on the front, on the bottom, or it could be in the very back on the bottom of the jacket at the very back of the book. Okay, so you've got two different places. They could be on the jacket cover. Inside the book, though, what page I say it was on? The publication page, okay? So it's going to show us all the information, just like we have up here, copyright 1961. Notice that this person renewed their copyright in 1989. Okay, this book, Eric, what does that say? Text copyright?
1992.
1992, and when were illustrations copyrighted?
1992.
Also 1992. So you can have multiple copyrights in one book. This book has illustration copyrights, text copyrights, and the cover, like the jacket cover copyrights. Yes.
Why is it called that?
Called copyright?
No, jacket.
Oh, a jacket because it's covering the book. It's like a jacket for the book.
Because it keeps it warm. Oh.
Yeah. All right.
My brain was still processing.
That's okay. So in books, though, always the publication page. Not all books, though, have covers, right? We know that some books, and a lot of books that y'all read, especially like graphic novels, things like that, paperbacks, will never have these jacket covers. Jacket covers are typically going to be on your hardcover books. Yes.
What's a paperback?
Paperback books like all your graphic novels that y'all read. It's just not hard, right? So a hardcover is like, I can knock on it it's making a noise. It's hard. Paperback. Let's see.
It's like
Do
the one on
we
the island, kind of.
have any? Let me grab one.
It's like the one on the island.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So we've been reading The One and Only Ivan. This is a paperback, right? I can knock on it. It makes a noise, but it's not hard. This is very flexible, okay? So paperbacks are not going to have jacket covers, but your hardcover books will, and most of them have the copyright on the jacket. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, if we're looking at things besides books, say like a website, for example, it's typically going to be at the bottom of the home page. So I want to show you guys an example. Okay, so let's see. We have Create Views webpage. Okay, if I scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, very, very bottom, does anyone see the copyright? I know it's kind of hard to see. Logan, where is it?
Very bottom of the
So very bottom right here, it says copyright 2002 to 2023, Blackboard Incorporated. So the school district uses Blackboard website to make their school websites. So that is our copyright here, okay? All other web pages, again, pretty much at the very bottom of the page. Now, some web pages might just have the symbol and not the actual copyright date. That's okay, it's still copyrighted, yes.
What happens when that person dies? Because it's for the next 70 years. So is it like their kid or like their grandchildren?
That's an awesome question. We're about to go over it, okay? So hold on to that question. So Ella's question is, what happens when someone dies and it's past the 70 years? Hold on to that because we're about to go over it. Okay, any questions on the web pages?
No.
Okay, and most of you guys see this when y'all are surfing the web and you never even realize it. Okay, and lastly, we have other works. So any kind of other work like choreography, right? If you're a dancer and there's this great new dance out and someone copyrights it, they copyright the moves and the choreography, how are you going to find the copyright, right? The dancers aren't going to like wear it on their arms or anything. You're going to check the U.S. Copyright Office website. So it's a site, you can go into it and you can search up the copyright for anything, and if it is copyrighted, it'll be on there. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
Any questions on this?
Nope.
All right, so once we know that a work is copyrighted, when can we use it, right? Because we don't want to just steal these ideas. We can't. It's not right. So how can we use it in a respectful way? We have a nice little graphic organizer here, a little flow chart. If it's someone else's words, yes, you will quote it and cite it, okay? If it's not someone else's words, but it's their idea, you still have to give them recognition. You still have to cite it. So even if you're not quoting them word for word, if you're using their idea, you still have to give them credit because did you come up with it? No. And like we talked about at the beginning of the lesson, most of y'all were really upset when your ideas were taken and you weren't given credit, right? Now, if it's no one else's words and no one else's ideas, you don't have to cite it. If it's coming from your own brain and you're writing a paper, you don't have to cite that. But if it's anyone else's ideas or words, you do have to give them credit. Yes, sir.
Would it count as copyright if you like come up with the idea and it's already someone else's idea and you didn't know it was theirs?
So if you come up with the idea but it's already out there, it would technically be considered copyright. That's a great question. If you don't know, if you are not aware, I think you would still be required to cite them because laws exist in our country, in our state, right? And just because you don't know about a law doesn't mean you can't get in trouble for breaking it. So you have to be knowledgeable of what you're doing. Okay, I think it would be the same with copyright. Even if you weren't sure, if you came up with that idea and you were gonna like publish the idea, hey, I came up with this amazing thing, you would need to do the research to make sure that wasn't already done.
Like I was thinking of making a restaurant called In and Out, but then my aunt told me there was already one called.
There is already an In and Out. Yes, Bentley.
It's also, there's no evidence that you didn't look at it before.
Right, and Bentley's right. So to Eric's question, what if you come up with something and you think it's your own, but someone actually has already made it? who's to say that you didn't actually look it up and find it, right? So you would just need to be responsible and make sure that you are doing all the research before you were to come out with something and say, hey, I made this all on my own. Yes.
If you were like, if it like asks for like if you're doing a school paper and it asks for a definition and you copy it off of the textbook, would you still have to put quotes even if it's like on everything else, like if it's on papers?
Okay, so Ella's question is, if we're using like a definition out of a textbook, do we have to cite that? So no. There is a thing called the Fair Use Act or Fair Use Policy, and it's for schools mostly. Some other places can use it. Mostly for schools, though. Basically, it says that schools, teachers, and students can use certain pieces of information or certain amounts of information without having to cite it. Okay? Now, like a dictionary definition, that's available knowledge for everyone. Like, say Webster's, for example, Webster's dictionary. They're not going to hold that information all themselves and say, hey, I know the definitions, but you can't use them unless you give me credit. It's just public knowledge. Okay, so certain things are okay for us to use without citing, but if it's like not common knowledge and it's something that is very specific to someone, then you do need to give them credit for that. Okay, that's a good question. Anyone else? Yes.
I just have one question. So, what if they're like these glasses and like they look exactly the same to another person? It's like.
So products would be getting into like a patent or trademark. That would not be copyright. So copyright is going to be more of like an idea, right? It's going to be a book. It's going to be a painting, a drawing, a photograph. It's physical products are either going to be they would either have a patent or a trademark. So that would be getting outside of the realm of someone's ideas. Okay, Elijah?
What if people want to make what if you want to go turn in something and like steals your idea?
Wait, if you want to turn in something in what?
The person in front of you steals your idea.
You'd have to confront them, maybe. I mean, you're talking about like at school?
No, like if you want.
Oh, like if you turn in a copyright
Yeah.
and someone takes your idea? Well, if you turn in the copyright first, then you would own the rights to it.
No, but like somebody stole it.
Oh, then you would maybe have to dispute it and take them to court potentially.
To quote with you.
And it happens, guys. Like if we go back to this slide, music. So music is really iffy, and y'all probably heard it just really recently. There's been lots of instances of it just as of late. A lot of artists will listen to older music for inspiration, right? A lot of us use older stuff or stuff that's already been made for inspiration. Well, musical artists will get in trouble because they might take a soundbite or a clip of an older song and use it as their own. That is fine, but what do they have to do?
Get the rights.
They have to give them credit, right? I can't just take a soundbite of this song and say it's my own song without giving that original artist or that original song the credit for it. So this has been coming up a lot in pop culture. Yes.
For example, like Cole Swindle's new song she had in Head to Carolina.
Wait, do what?
That example she had in Head to Carolina by Cole Swindle.
Uh-huh.
Is that like a copyright of the original version?
Well, no,
Yeah.
it's not. Is it because
If you make a cover, you would still give that original artist credit. Yes.
So like, what if someone made up like all these stories and no one in the world knows about it except for like your friend or something, and then they like kill you or something, and they say that it was yours.
Okay, hold on, guys. Get quiet for me. So a little bit of an extreme example. But guys, here's the deal. Everyone has the right to their own stuff that they make up. Okay? Everyone has the right to their own stuff. If you draw a picture right now and it's something that has never been drawn before, you own the rights to that picture. Okay? Now, it wouldn't be a legal copyright, but if you could prove, hey, I made this before that person started doing it, you would have the rights to it. Okay? Okay. Is it about copyright or specific examples?
What if they made like what if that songwriter made like a remix of the song?
They would still have to give them credit. If they're using any part of the song, they have to give them credit. Okay? Yes, last question.
So like, if you like kind of like how you should like take a song right and then
Mm-hmm.
like I guess like give them credit. What if they were already dead before like? You could,
So if it's not 70 years after their death, you have to give them credit. And y'all are dancing around these questions, you and Ella both. I'm almost there because y'all are asking it, and it's a good question. So when can we actually use it? So if you're looking at a written work, like think a book, think an article, think a magazine, you can refer to or use that work only up to 10% of it, as long as you give the author credit, okay? So if you're writing a paper and you use sources, which we just did a research paper last month, that letter to a company where you're persuading them to change a product or add a new product, y'all cited different sources to help your argument, right? That's appropriate because y'all used less than 10% of those sources. Now, if you use more than 10%, and especially if you're not citing, that is plagiarism, and we can't have that, okay? You don't want to steal others' ideas. You're welcome to use it as long as you give them credit, okay? Ways you can give the author credit. You can cite the source in the text. In Mrs. Fisk's 2013 article about, puppies, she says this. You're giving the author credit. You're citing it. Okay, you can include a works cited list. Again, y'all did this on your argumentative letter. You included a section at the bottom, and it showed the websites and authors that you received information from. Okay, you can use the author's name in your work, and you can use quotation marks. This shows that it's not from your mouth or from your brain, right? Does that make sense? Okay, any questions about when we can actually use a copyrighted work?
Nope.
Okay, so the question that y'all have really been interested about, what happens when a work is no longer copyrighted? Because they don't last forever. They do last a very long time, right? But what happens when they are no longer under copyright law? Couple of things. Okay, when a copyright expires, it goes to something called the public domain. Okay, the public domain can be used by anyone. Now, once an idea or a movie or a song goes to the public domain, no one can own it, but anyone is free to use it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
So you mean by that you can't copyright it again?
No. So once the author or the creator is passed, and it's 70 years past their death, it goes to the public domain. You can't copyright it again because the person who made it up is not alive anymore, right? So no one can own it because that person's already passed. Okay? Hey, please stop tapping. Thank you. Yes.
My question was though, it was because when the person does die and it's still 70 years, and you know how you have to ask permission to use it?
Right.
Who would you ask? Like, would you
Well,
ask
you don't necessarily ask permission as long as you're giving them credit and like saying, hey, I got this from this person. I got it from this book. That's okay. Now, if you're using it for like something that, like a movie, you might have to ask for permission to utilize it on something that a lot of people are going to see. But like for papers that you guys write or for y'all's purposes, giving them credit is enough.
So nobody owns it for 70 years?
No, the author still owns it, even though they're dead. Once they die and the 70 years pass, it goes to the public domain and anyone can use it for free without giving the people credit anymore. Okay? Yes.
What if they faked their death?
That would be a very extreme situation. I do not know what would happen in that case. Yes.
So if it's already been those 70 years and like, let's say like on a book there's like a logo and it still has that copyright symbol, would it like...
It just wouldn't be valid anymore. So yeah, guys, if like this book is not 70 years old, but say this author of One and Only Ivan has died and that was 70 years ago, okay? Any copyrights that are in here would no longer be valid. So yes, it would still be printed in the book because if this was a 70-year-old copy, it might still be in there, but the copyright wouldn't be valid anymore. Yes.
Oh, darn it.
Lost it.
Hold on.
I can come back to you. Yes.
So, like, if you made another copy of that and a new copy, would you break copyright?
It just wouldn't have one. It would show who published it, like what company published it, but it wouldn't have like a copyright by the author anymore.
You just wouldn't have a copyright.
And really, you're not going to republish books like that for the most part. They could use the old copyrights, they would just put the old copyright in even if it wasn't valid anymore. Because it would show when it was originally copyrighted. Yes?
What if the person is dead and then just like a member of their family renews it? Like, can you do that or no?
I don't think, only the original creator can renew it. Okay? All right, now some examples of things that you guys know of that are old enough that they have now gone into the public domain, and most of these are pretty recent. Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, and the stories of Little Women, those have all recently gone into the public domain. Okay, so once something goes into the public domain, a lot of times you're going to start seeing it pop up in TV shows, and you're going to see the movie remade a lot, or maybe the book is going to come out again. So a lot of times you'll see it pop up a lot more once it becomes part of the public domain, because people then have free access to it. Okay, any questions on copyright, public domain, any of that good stuff?
Nope.
Okay.
I think we have
Yeah, y'all did ask a lot of good questions. Yes. Good? Okay. So, for your activity, in just a moment, I'm going to have you pair off into partners, and I'm going to give you guys an index card and a pencil. Okay? Make sure y'all pay attention so you know what to do. With your partners, you are going to find a copyright in the following 3 things. You need to find a copyright of a book in the fiction section, which is where in the library? That way. Okay. You need to find a copyright in a book that's in the nonfiction section, where? Yes, that way. You need to find a book with a cover illustration copyright. So, like one of these. These could be where?
over here.
Anywhere. Okay, now let me ask you a question. Graphic novels. They are in the fiction section, but are they actually fiction?
No.
Graphic novels are considered nonfiction because they're artwork. So, Miss Jordan puts them over to the side with fiction because most of them are fictional stories, but they technically are considered nonfiction because they're art. So, if you choose to do a graphic novel as part of your copyright scavenger hunt, put it under the nonfiction section. Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
So Attack on Titan's nonfiction.
Because it is artwork, it is considered nonfiction, but the story itself is fictional. Okay? So, any questions on what we're doing?
Nope.
All right. Reminder, please do not come into this front area. Okay, I'm gonna bring around your note card and a pencil. And once you get your note card and a pencil, you may begin. When you find your 3 copyrights, come back and sit down at your table. Yes? Okay. Have a group of 3?
Sure.
Okay, so don't start moving once you get your note cards. Who does not have a partner?
I want the pencil. I want the pencil.
Guys, when you find a copyright, write a 1, 2, and a 3 to coordinate howdy. Howdy. Let me rephrase. When you find a copyright, on your note card, write 1, 2, 3 to match the board, and write your copyright date there. Okay? Girls, make sure we're looking for copyrights and not Once you find your 3, find your seat. Yes, sir. No, that's your references. So your copyright is going to be on the publication page. So here's 2008.
I didn't.
Oh, it's terrible tape. I didn't know that. Hey, find the fiction because this is okay. Well, this one's non-fiction. No, this one's fiction. No, that one's fiction. Non-fiction is real. This says it's a graphic. That's just a graphic.
Once you find your 3 copyrights, find a seat, please. Come back to your desk. Come on, Justin. Careful, careful. Justin.
You have to come sit over here now. No?
Nah.
Get out the camera.
Yeah, Eric, careful. Once you find your copyrights, have a seat, please. Hey, Bentley, we're not going around.
Just initial
Those are some really random things. Ow.
That's Bexley.
What is it?
That's a Bexley.
That's an H.
That's an H.
Looks like an R if I put it in perspective.
I don't know how it kind of does, but that's
Bro, it looks like an M.
Bexley, but smaller. That's just Bexley, but the H is smaller.
Is it an emergency?
Ew. I'm gonna run into the wall.
Bexley. And Bexley.
That hard. Wait, hold on.
Oh my god! That's what the holes look like, bro. That is so
So that would be copyright for the actual. Oh, that's a trademark. 1 minute and 6 seconds. Okay, we are. First American edition 2015. So, that's non-fiction. Bentley, get off the glass, please, sir.
I forgot my glasses. Sit down. What am I supposed to do?
Wait, hold on, I gotta add something. So, that's what we're talking about. But it is class. Because my professional
Haley. 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 I have a question. video is still going, guys. The video is still going.
You like my drawing? Shade lamp, please. When you're done, find your seat.
Yes. Okay, we got that. The dreadful tale of Peter. And then One Piece.
Howdy! Alright, return to your seats quietly, please. Quietly. If you got a book out, make sure you turn it back to where it goes, okay? Quietly return to your seats. Alright, so I know several of you guys kind of struggled with finding some books that had not just the jacket covers, but copyright dates in the jacket covers. When I was gathering books for this lesson, I found several that had jacket cover but didn't have a copyright for the cover. So I'm going to pass out one to each group. Be nice to the book. When you find it, bless you. Pass it to the person next to you. Some of them are going to have the copyright for the jacket cover in the front. Some of them will have it on the back, okay? Yes.
What if you already got the jacket cover?
You guys will take a look. Not everyone at your table probably has. So find the copyright for the jacket cover illustration. It might say cover illustration. It might say jacket cover. It could say jacket illustration, any variety of that. And it will have a copyright date with it. When everyone's checked the copyright and you're good, just put it back in the center and I'll come get it when y'all are all done. If your neighbors have a hard time finding it, help them find the copyright. We're ready to hear. I will come help you. Yeah, good. All right, anyone need help finding the jacket cover copyright?
No, ma'am. What do you want us to do with the cards?
Hold on, then I'll take them up at the very end. All right, howdy. Howdy. All right. So let's talk about what y'all found. Okay, make sure y'all are all looking up here for me. Go ahead and put those books in the center of your tables. I will come pick them up momentarily. Good. Okay. So, what did you discover when you were searching for copyrights? Think about it in your head for just a moment. Think about it in your head for just a moment. What did you discover? I'm going to give you all about 30 seconds to discuss with your shoulder partner. Go ahead and begin.
It was
It was interesting.
It was like the same page.
Basically,
Except for
Hey, you're not in.
Rainer. Go.
It also has like illustrations.
But I noticed, okay, just the C and
That's basically
copyright.
Alright, howdy. Howdy. Make sure those books are missing in your tables, guys. Close them up for me. Alright, eyes up here, hands off the books. Alright, I need some people to share for me. Ella, what did you discover today?
I realized, I thought it was just the C and then the circle, but it's actually copyright C circle.
Okay, so you've got the word copyright and the symbol. Good. Eric?
I learned that copyright can be anywhere in the book.
Okay, it can be anywhere, right? Most times it can be in that publication page. But good, it could be almost anywhere. Yep.
That copyrights can be in a lot of famous books.
Okay. Yeah, they'll all have copyrights, right? Because they want to make sure that they are getting the sole rights to that book and that they're getting credit for it. Good.
I found that there's a lot of different types of copyrights, so like text copyright, illustration copyrights.
Okay, good. So I think y'all looked at a book that had 3 different copyrights. There was one for the text, there was one for like the map, and like dragon illustrations. Okay, so a lot of books have multiple copyrights for different things within the book, like different elements. Yes.
That like almost every single book that has the copyright symbol or like the copyright thing, it has a date right beside it. Like,
Hey,
most of the time.
good. So we're gonna have a date, right? Like I told y'all, some websites might not have a copyright. It might just say copyright and then the name of the website. But pretty much any like literary work or published work that we look at is going to have a date. Most times it's the date the book is first published. But like the example that we saw earlier, we had a copyright, let's see. We had a copyright renewal, right? We had the original copyright of 1961, and then it was renewed again in 1989. Did anyone come across a book that had a copyright renewal? Did y'all have one?
I think so.
Yeah. Hey, not all books will, but you will come across works that do have a renewal date on them as well. Yes.
Is it just because is it just because they're newer and they don't have
A lot of times you just want to make sure their book is given the credit, and sometimes they might add ideas or add like a prologue or an epilogue, and so they copyright it again because they've got new ideas that have been added to it. Yes.
Something like you said before, so if you had a movie, you published it, copyrighted it, then you took it back, added an epilogue to it, after you've copyrighted everything.
You have a new copyright.
Okay, so they couldn't steal the epilogue.
No. The original one would still be copyrighted, like the original work, and the new work would have maybe a copyright renewal or just multiple copyrights. I know some of y'all had books like that because you showed them to me. There was like copyright 1995, 1998, 1999, and 2000, and that might be new editions or different versions of the book with like different book covers. Yes.
Like if you go on the internet and you like take a picture off of it and like put in an essay, would you have to copyright that picture?
If you take a picture or you take a picture from the internet,
You take a picture from the internet.
you have to give them credit. Okay. All right. So anything else that y'all discovered? Y'all still have some really good questions. Any more discoveries y'all want to share? Yes.
Isn't this why when we wrote the essay you made us write down like the link or copy?
Yes, because you want to give everyone credit, right? Just like y'all told me at the beginning, it's not fun when someone steals your ideas. So when you use the idea of someone else, you want to give them credit. Okay. All right. Lastly, I always end these with a challenge for you guys. My challenge for y'all this time is to search for the copyright in any published work that you see. So as you get new library books, as you visit websites, social media, y'all know what the symbol looks like. Y'all know where it should be. Look for them. It's always interesting, I think, to see sometimes how old things are or when they were originally copyrighted. And some of y'all even told me, I didn't realize how old some of these books were because you never really looked at the publication dates or the copyrights. So you might find some interesting information when you do that. But I just want y'all to start taking notice of the copyright things that y'all are around. Okay, any last questions?
Nope.
All right, great job today, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks and gig 'em.